My roommate kept stealing my food. So I got petty revenge. I, 22M, live with my roommate, Jake, 24M. When I first moved in, I thought I had lucked out. Jake wasn't a slob. He paid rent on time, and he wasn't one of those people who blare music at 3 a.m. or threw parties every weekend. On the surface, he was a good roommate. But then there was the food problem. From the very beginning, Jake had this habit of treating the fridge like it was communal property. I'd buy groceries, put them away, and by the next day, something would already be missing. At first, it was small things: a soda, can a slice of bread, a handful of chips. I told myself I was being dramatic. Roommates share sometimes, right? But it snowballed. If I bought a dozen eggs, half would be gone in 3 days. My gallon of milk, which should have lasted a week, would be nearly empty after 24 hours. Chips, cereal, drinks, always mysteriously disappearing. Jake never replaced them, either. If I asked him about it, he'd grin and say things like, "Oh, I thought you weren't using it," or "I'll buy the next round, chill." Spoiler alert, he never did. I try to set boundaries. I label my food. I literally wrote my name on containers. I even bought a mini fridge for my room at one point, but Jake still somehow managed to forget and grab stuff from it if I left it unlocked. It wasn't just annoying. It felt like he didn't respect me or my effort. The breaking point came with the lasagna. I had spent hours on this thing. I'm not exaggerating. I boiled pasta, simmered sauce from scratch, layered ricotta, mozzarella, and ground beef until it looked like something out of a cookbook. My plan was simple: eat a slice that night, then save the rest for easy meals throughout the week. I even put it in a big glass container, labeled it with my name in huge, sharp letters, and placed it neatly on the fridge shelf. The next evening, I opened the fridge. Gone. The entire lasagna. Not even a corner piece left. Just the empty container shoved haphazardly on the bottom shelf, like a crime scene. That's when I snapped. I stormed into the living room holding the empty container and demanded, "Jake, where the hell is my lasagna?" He didn't even look guilty. He just shrugged and said, "Relax, dude. You weren't going to eat all that anyway." It wasn't just the food. It was the utter disrespect. He didn't see me as a roommate to share space with. He saw me as a built-in meal plan. That night, as I sat fuming in my room, I decided if Jake couldn't respect boundaries, then maybe he needed to learn boundaries the hard way. So I came up with a plan. The next day, I went grocery shopping. But this wasn't a normal trip. No, this was strategic warfare. I bought the nastiest combination of foods I could think of. Freezer-burned microwave meals from the clearance bin. Sardines and mustard sauce. Overly spicy ghost pepper pickles that smelled like acid. Cheap, rubbery hot dogs that looked suspiciously gray. And some discount ground beef that probably should have been thrown out a week ago. When I got home, I cooked everything together in one giant pot. The smell was atrocious. It was like someone had lit a dumpster on fire and then poured vinegar on top. The stew came out thick, lumpy, and brownish gray. Even I gagged just stirring it. This was no dinner. This was bait. I put the concoction into a large plastic container and set it right in the middle of the fridge. No labels, no warnings. Just there, waiting like a trap. The trap is sprung. I didn't have to wait long. 2 days later, I came home from class, opened the fridge, and saw the container half empty. I almost burst out laughing on the spot. Not long after, I got a text from Jake. "Bro, what the hell was that stew?" I swear I almost died. I could barely contain myself. I pictured him sitting there, smugly helping himself to my food again, only to realize halfway through that he'd made the worst mistake of his life. I thought that would be the end of it. A little stomachache, a little embarrassment, and he'd finally learn his lesson. But oh no, the universe had other plans. That night, around 2 a.m., I woke up to the sound of groaning. At first, I thought Jake was having a nightmare. Then came the toilet's flushing, the gagging, the pacing. He spent the entire night in the bathroom, shuffling between the toilet and the sink. I heard him muttering things like, "Never again. I swear to God," between groans. I'll admit, at first I felt victorious. Sweet, petty justice. But as the night dragged on, and I kept hearing him suffer, I started to feel guilty. Like really guilty. I hadn't meant to wreck his insides. I just wanted him to think twice before stealing my food. The next morning, Jake emerged from the bathroom looking like a zombie. Pale, sweaty, with dark circles under his eyes. He sat at the kitchen table, clutching a bottle of water, and whispered, "Dude, I'm never touching your food again. Ever." That was the worst night of my life. I almost laughed, but then I saw how miserable he looked. That's when guilt really hit. I hadn't poisoned him. It was technically edible food, but I had definitely crossed into revenge gone too far territory. Since then, Jake has been a completely different person. He apologizes constantly, offers to replace my groceries, and even suggested we start shopping together so he can cover half the bill. He hasn't touched a single thing of mine in weeks. If anything, he treats my leftovers like they're radioactive. But now I'm left with this nagging feeling. Did I go too far? Was the cursed stew a cruel prank, or just a wake-up call Jake desperately needed after months of disrespect? Part of me feels guilty every time I remember him moaning in the bathroom all night. But another part of me thinks, well, maybe he brought it on himself. So now I'm stuck wondering, am I the asshole for teaching my roommate a lesson this way? Or was this just petty justice served hot and rancid?